The Wives of the Dead is a short story published in 1832 by Nathaniel Hawthorne. In the beginning of the story, the narrator downplays the significance of the tale, claiming it to be of little importance. However, contradicting his initial statement, he proceeds to provide a detailed account. The story takes place a century ago in the early 18th century, within a Massachusetts seaport town. It revolves around two young and attractive women who marry brothers and establish a household together. Tragedy strikes the women within 2 consecutive days when they receive news of their husbands' deaths. One husband is lost at sea, while the other perishes while fighting the French and Indians in Canada. During this period, the British and the French were engaged in a struggle for control of North America, and colonists from the Bay Colonies often found themselves involved in conflicts on the Canadian frontier. Despite the town's inhabitants offering their condolences, the women desire solitude to console each other. After the mourners depart, Mary, the more practical and compassed of the two, prepares dinner, while Margaret, consumed by grief and resentment, finds herself unable to eat. Both women retire to bed, where Mary easily succumbs to sleep, momentarily forgetting her loss. In contrast, Margaret remains awake, trapped in a feverish state, her gaze fixed upon the living room that the two couples had once shared, mourning for the past. Hawthorne skillfully employs imagery related to light, such as the hearth and the lamp, to evoke the warmth of bygone days, juxtaposed with the coldness of the present. As Margaret lies in bed attempting to sleep, she is startled by a persistent knock on the door. Reluctantly, she rises and takes the lamp from the hearth to light her way. To her surprise, it is Goodman Parker, their neighbor and innkeeper, who stands before her. He brings astonishing news that Margaret's husband is, in fact, alive. Parker relays the account of a messenger who had recently passed through town, sharing tidings from the frontier. According to the messenger, the skirmish they had been informed of had resulted in victory, and the reported 13 casualties were actually unharmed, including Margaret's husband. The phrase "what of meaning know of" is used in Parker's speech, reflecting the language of the time. The name Goodman was a common name in the American colonies and appears in other works by Hawthorne, such as Young Goodman Brown. Overjoyed by the revelation, Margaret decides against waking Mary to share the news, fearing it may alter the delicate state of their relationship. She returns to bed immersed in delightful thoughts, which eventually transform into vivid visions as sleep takes hold. Meanwhile, Mary awakens from a vivid dream, disturbed by eager knocking at the street door. Like Margaret, she retrieves the lamp from the hearth and opens the window, which had been left unlatched. Stephen, a former suitor who is a sailor, stands outside and informs Mary that her husband survived the shipwreck and is safe and sound. Hawthorne employs irony in the naming of the capsized ship, ironically called the Blessing, initially assuming Stephen has come to rekindle their romantic connection. Mary is taken aback, and the narrator notes that she has no intention of emulating the actions of Zadig's first wife in Voltaire's story, Zadig's Nose. In that tale, Zadig fakes his own death, only for his wife to quickly seek the company of another man. However, Mary's dismay quickly transforms into elation upon learning that her husband is indeed alive. Yet, she resists the urge to wake Margaret, fearing that sharing the news may exacerbate her own sorrow. The story concludes with an ambiguous final line, leaving uncertainty as to whether Margaret abruptly awakens when Mary touches her, or if Mary awakens to her own tears, with Stephen's visit merely a dream.